paraphrasing it, obviously, because I don't remember the saying exactly, but it was to the extent of one of the biggest purposes of white supremacy is to waste your time. And I tie
Wow.
capitalism, white supremacy, misogyny, transphobia, homophobia, all of it. It's all just different heads of the same hydra. It's just like, you know, and I was talking about this recently. The funny thing is that like people love to talk about how stuff is a distraction and don't realize that they're the ones being distracted by not being willing to talk about it. Like, cause like it's like people like, oh yeah, all that gay shit is a distraction, all this gender stuff is a
Oh yeah, we were
distraction.
talking about this. That's right. No,
Yeah.
it's fucked up. I mean, even what's crazy is literally Cornell West was on Jimmy Dore. I haven't seen the whole clip, but then and Jimmy Dore has some good journalists on there. So I'll definitely check him here and there. But then occasionally, it's like the guy just annoys me. He can be really corny. He's like, "Why are you focusing so much on white supremacy when it's like a class thing?" And it's like, it's almost like it's not an either or thing.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm,
it.
I'm kind of sick of this
That's it.
framing. And we were kind of talking about this the other day where people are like, well, we can't worry about trans issues right now because we're going to have a nuclear war because of Ukraine, which is like, fine. Yeah, we shouldn't have a nuclear war with the Ukraine, but also how many states are passing anti-trans laws right now?
Thank you.
Whatever.
And
It's like, why
yes.
can't we fucking care about this shit?
And
I just, it's hard for me to
absolutely.
organize with bigots. I don't know, man. I can't
Well,
see it.
that's here's the thing. It is impossible to organize with bigots, and what's happening now is the same mistake as was made in previous rises of fascism. And I have my theory about this is that people don't understand that the nuclear family, that the idea family before everything else, and people find this very challenging, but I really invite people to think about it. Family above everything. If you're defining family on the terms of the current culture, right? You're talking about the lineage of essentially some white dude's last name, right? No, even if you're a black person, it's probably some white dude's last name in America, at least, right? So you're talking about these lineages and protecting these lineages and protecting the people of that lineage above anybody else because you share DNA with them, right? So a lot of these people will have family members who they're like, well, I love my Uncle Jim, but he's a horrible racist. So how can I work with my Uncle Jim? They're not thinking, how can we be successful in making a better world? They're thinking, how can I protect my family and still maybe get some gains? And that is always a losing proposition. You can't unify with people who are willing to see other people killed, or at least would do nothing if that happened. That's a red line, right? And people don't realize that, like, even if they're otherwise good-hearted people, you have to understand that some people are irredeemable. And going back to the other thing you said about, like, you know, having, like, forgetting about trans issues, or for some people it's like, oh, we can't worry about all this race stuff, we got to worry about the class issues, not realizing, I always say this, right? The way I put it is this: my saying to black capitalists is, how the fuck are you a black capitalist when your black ass would have been the capital a couple hundred years ago? Okay, that don't
Yeah.
make no sense.
Yeah.
Capitalism is born out of slavery. Black people were the capital that built this country. It is not an old thing. It is not like unconnected. Transphobia. The reason that trans rights are so important is because a lot of the pre-colonial notions of gender were erased so that everything could fit into the white supremacist, Calvinist, Christian notion of what a family is supposed to be. So that, why? It was easier to package, easier to keep the lineages straight, easy to make the society built the way that they wanted it to be. And that doesn't include gender variation, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't existed since people have existed. It's always existed. And the problem is that every time, so I think we were talking about this, but I feel like it's worth repeating. The Magnus Hirschfeld Institute
Yeah, I
in
couldn't remember the name of it. In the 30s Germany or whatever.
30s
Right? Very
Germany.
time. Yeah.
The whole thing about first they came for the socialists, right? That's not true. First they came for the trans people, and they were successful. They came for the trans people. They came for the gay people. They burned every book in the Magnus Hirschfeld Institute, which was about gayness and transness. It was the best science, some of the best science that humans
Yeah,
put
I mean,
together.
it's crazy when you think about the time when that was happening, like how ahead of the time it was. And then again, you got these
Yeah.
fucking psycho fascists.
And
You
you
know,
have these psycho-fascists, and everybody talks about Nazi book burnings without talking about what books they were burning. They were burning the books on trans people. And what happened? Because they were able to do that with everybody's blessing, that's how they consolidated the power to go after everybody else. Because once they get the trans laws on the books, then they can extend that into like mental health and say the trans thing is mental health. And then once they have mental health as the thing that they can go after people for, then they do some drapetomania shit where they say like, oh, you know what? This person is too concerned with global warming. It's a mania. They should be institutionalized. They use each thing and keep creeping into our rights.
Yeah, I mean, the trans issues are, of course, going to slide into gay rights and slide into women's rights. And, they still haven't even codified, Roe versus Wade. So it's like, yeah, because it's always like a carrot to keep voting for a neoliberal Democratic Party. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have fascists on one side, but then you have the other side that doesn't do anything either. So then it's like, what kind of democracy is this? It's
exactly.
It's a shit show. It's a clown show.
Yeah. I mean, as challenging as people find it, like the Democrats and the Republicans, they work together. And whatever's in their hearts, I don't care about what's in their hearts. I care about what their function is. And like the way I put it is that you have, the Republicans are arsonists. They're the ones that are running around setting everything on fire, just throwing flames. The Democrats are the people with the fire extinguishers, but they have them under lock and key. And they won't let you use them unless you fill out the right paperwork in triplicate.
Means never happens. Means testing forever.
Exactly. So it's like you have the people who are supposed to be helping you that won't help you, and the people who are destroying you. And the worst part is that the people who are, the arsonists and the people with the fire extinguishers are friends. They're the same class. They're yachting together. Their children are going to the same schools. They have a vested interest in protecting each other more than they do the people who they're supposed to be serving.